She wrote down her personal experience with Jesus in a book now titled The Gospel of Mary Magdalene. In this episode, we are going to explore this Gospel of Mary Magdalene and why it has become so controversial. Among these is the Gospel of Thomas. Like that text, the Gospel of Mary introduces the contemporary world to a new understanding of Christianity and the impact of Jesus. It is clear that in essence Jesus' teaching is a vision and a path beyond our familiar notions of mind and feeling. The depth and wonder of what he said and did over 2,000 years ago are like a shock from above, transforming the world and continuing to echo within the hearts of millions across the globe. However, today's conditions make it challenging for many of us to fully grasp the spiritual traditions of the past. The Gospel of Mary is an invitation for us to once again encounter the teaching of Jesus, not just as a historical artifact, but as a life-giving truth that remains relevant today. One of the most remarkable aspects of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene is that the more it reveals, the more profound the mystery becomes. At an intellectual level, it resolved contradictions that often drive many away from belief in the objective existence of God, while at the same time it opens the heart to an awakening, a rediscovery of the joy of what we knew deep down all along, but had forgotten or given up hope of finding. No mystery could be more powerful than this, that above our minds in the depths of silence, we are allowed to know ourselves as human beings created to serve the highest good for both God and our humanity. The Gospel of Mary was among the alternative Gospels rejected by the Roman Catholic Church. The story of how these alternative Gospels were suppressed reads like an adventure novel, involving book burnings, secret gatherings of small sects, and actions by authorities including exiles, executions, and more. Ironically, the most extensive suppression of early Christian literature began when Constantine became Emperor of Rome and declared Christianity the official religion of the entire Roman Empire. This led to a lengthy process of deciding which texts would be considered authoritative, starting with his initial victory in 312 CE and continuing until he defeated his last rival in 324. In 325, Constantine gathered the Council of Nicaea, where it was determined which texts would form the standards of the Church. These are what we now recognize as the canonical Gospels. Texts not chosen as standard were often attacked or disregarded for many years. In fact, bishops at the Council of Nicaea who disagreed with Constantine's choices were immediately exiled. Despite these efforts, the suppression was not entirely successful. Some texts survived, passed on through the centuries. Various scraps and fragments were found in diverse locations over the years, although no significant discoveries were made. However, in 1945, this changed dramatically with the discovery of a large cache of alternative Christian manuscripts in a clay jar in the desert at Nag Hammadi, near Fu, Egypt. The story of how these documents reached the outside world, from their initial discovery by a wandering shepherd to their journey through the black markets, and ultimately into the hands of scholars, including the Swiss psychologist Carl Jung. A broad term with different interpretations beyond mere moral transgression. The term sinner, in this context from a Jewish perspective, might mean someone who has violated Jewish law. This could refer to someone who, for example, had not paid their taxes, rather than necessarily indicating a streetwalker or prostitute. The Greek word for harlot, often linked with sin, is actually not the term used for the woman who weeps at Jesus' feet in Luke. In fact, there is no direct reference to Mary as a prostitute anywhere in the Gospels. Amidst all the debate surrounding Mary's identity, certain significant details emerge from the four Gospels. Mary Magdalene is the only woman besides Mary, the mother of Jesus, who is named in all four Gospels. Importantly, her name, with only one exception, appears first when the women present at an event are listed. We know being named first in list in the Gospel implies hierarchical importance or relevance. For example, Peter, as leader of the disciples, is always named first. To be named first, Mary Magdalene must have had some leadership value, acknowledged by the writers of the four Gospels. The texts also indicate that Jesus healed Mary Magdalene by casting out 7 demons, Mark 16 verse 9, Luke 8 verse 2, a detail later emphasized by Pope Gregory in Homily 33. We shall come back to the importance of this later. We also learn that she is one of 3 women, along with Mary, the mother of Jesus, and John the Apostle, who stayed at the cross during Jesus' crucifixion, John 19 verse 25. Most importantly, Mary Magdalene is the first to witness the resurrection, seeing Jesus after he rises from the tomb, John 20 verses 11 to 18, Mark 16 verse 9, Matthew 28 verses 9 to 10. For this she is often considered the apostle of apostles, and is honored by St. Augustine. These few specific scenes might seem limited in scope, but they offer much for us to consider. Each reference reveals something beyond its surface and provides a richer picture of Mary Magdalene. In the Gospels, we frequently encounter people pressing close, crowds of the sick and needy, eager to see Jesus or touch him. But in Mary Magdalene's story, we see someone released from her personal struggles and set free. Unfortunately, for many years, the fact that Mary Magdalene was a sinner was the most highlighted, not the fact that she was set free from the captivation of sin by her teacher, her Lord and Master Jesus Christ. So I'm going to restate here that we must never forget that Jesus Christ does indeed free Mary of the 7 demons, or perhaps 7 aspects of her own shadow or energies tied to each of the 7 deadly sins: pride, lust, envy, anger, covetousness, gluttony, and sloth. In their place, these are transformed into the 7 virtues of humility, charity, chastity, gratitude, temperance, patience, and diligence. If this purification is understood in this way, it makes Mary the most thoroughly sanctified person referenced in the New Testament. Imagine a life completely freed of prejudice and old grudges, illusions and obstacles that weigh down the heart. Once healed, Mary could truly perceive the divine reality within all things.